Hi there. Welcome to Reflections, a program sponsored by the Paducah Cooperative Ministry. My name is Heidi Sir-Heinrich. I'm the director of the Paducah Cooperative Ministry, and I'm one of your hosts for today's program. With me is Scott Dossett, our other host for today. Welcome, Scott.
Hello, welcome. This morning we're going to be talking with Gregory Waldrop and Steve Stetson about the new project that they've done at Fountain Avenue United Methodist Church and the renovation project and just some of the things that are going on with their ministry, exciting things and good things. And so here we go.
Hey, so glad to be here with you. Extra glad. And glad to represent Fountain Avenue United Methodist Church. Fountain Avenue is 105 years old. It's been in that neighborhood for 105 years. It was a mission out of Broadway Methodists. A lot of the Methodist churches in Paducah arose out of a mission Sunday school class of Broadway in 1908. Excuse me, in 1892.
1892.
1892. And they went to a tavern. That was their first.
Right on.
And we think we're doing alternative things now, but they've been doing them for a long time. And eventually, 16 years later, they decided to build out on the edge of town. Fountain Avenue was the edge of town.
That was the edge of town.
It was the end of the streetcar run right there. And 1908, the full year of 1908, they built this structure. In early 1908, they had the dedication and the cornerstone laying. The masons came and did this enormous ceremony. 3,000 people came from all around.
People? That must have been the entire population of Paducah back
it must
then.
have been a big deal. The paper covered it and the whole pit.
Was Chief Paducah there?
It could have been. It could have been.
Now, the circle was already existing when the
circle
church
was
built?
not, the park was not there, but it was, obviously the boulevards were there, that the streetcar lines ran down. But anyway, it was, the building has been there for 105 years, and it's had several renovations along the way. The last major one was in the middle of the 60s, so it had a few things that dated it, and so it was ready and time for a refreshment, and it felt our job, our season, our time.
Well, what led to the decision to make the renovations? How did the congregation come to that point, and what was determined was needed?
Well, we had done a study about what, with everybody in the church having a chance to voice what they felt was the most important ministries going on and what was needed to support and make that strong, those ministries strong. And there were several happening and that needed that kind of support. And the first project we undertook was to freshen up, liven up our sanctuary setting.
So this renovation project is exclusively to the sanctuary area, or did it extend out into other parts of the building as well?
It was exclusively to the sanctuary. We made a master plan out of that design that includes all kinds of projects and all kinds of parts of the church facility, including even a new fellowship area, a new fellowship hall eventually when that works for it all. But this was the first piece of that master plan that we tackled.
Well, Steve, how did you get involved in this program, in this project?
Well, a member of the Methodist man and a member of the Board of Trustees, and was asked to be on the building committee. That when we finally decided to do this, we formed a building committee. And in the process of going through what needed to be done and how to get it done, we decided kind of late in the game we were going to be our own general contractors. We could save significant money doing that.
Very economical.
And you got to wear the hat.
Yeah, and we got to wear the hats. But as we decided that, we also discovered we were going to have somebody on site pretty much any time that there were workers on site.
Right.
And Don Peck and I volunteered to do it along with Brother Gregory, that we would take on that responsibility of being there just to answer the questions and make sure that things were going the way we wanted to. Mainly, the first thing we did was make sure that our beautiful stained glass windows were secured, and people realized that they couldn't be swinging 2x4s around next to the stained glass windows.
And they are
things like
beautiful,
that.
and I understand why you
And
want
how
to
old are those
protect
stained
them.
glass windows?
They're original to the
To
church.
the building.
There's a picture of
1908.
the,
Yeah.
exterior of the church and then some of the renovations that were done.
So you covered those up to keep people from...
We
Some of
covered
it,
them
some of
up
the
with
time.
plywood and you know, we were traffic cops for a while, making sure that things stayed away from them. So that's basically how I got involved in it and volunteered to do it. Needed a project. I've been retired for a while, and I needed something to get my head on straight again.
And his whole life has been sort of qualifying him for this project manager.
Preparation for this.
He's a farmer, and you know farmers do everything well, or get a shot at doing everything well. He's a teacher, a vocational education teacher. He also served as a project manager when the big casino went in over in southeast Missouri. And so he was wonderfully situated, and he's a person of deep faith.
Yeah.
And so it was a perfect fit, really, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, talk to us about the scope of the project. What happened?
We, as we said, we had a master plan, and that part of that we took out of that master plan the sanctuary renovation. And as we met with architects and we met with builders, and we decided how we would go about doing what we wanted to accomplish. We had a wonderful group of architects who gave us a plan that we all kind of looked at and modified here and modified there, and we're trying to get rid of some obstacles for handicap as well as just bringing it into the 21st century
Right,
more than
right,
anything
right.
else. That was our big thing. We wanted better audio. We wanted some video in the sanctuary that we did not have before. We wanted an open, airy feeling that basically just highlighted the sanctuary as stained glass windows, a new chancel, a larger chancel. Our church has put on a lot of different concerts and brought in entertainment to the community, and we wanted a place that would handle that better than what we had before.
Right, some updates that were important, some
And
accessibility.
what the design that we ended up with, we got a rendering from the architect of what it was supposed to look like, and brought it to the congregation. Congregation approved it. It was within the budget that we had to work with. So we just more or less said, okay, we're going to do this, and that's it.
Dived
We
in.
just hopped in with both feet, and we had, like I said, we had wonderful people to work with. We had a good demolition crew who was actually a member of our church.
That's pretty important.
Yeah, I mean,
It was maybe the most important part of it, really.
So walls came out, ceilings came
walls
out.
came,
What happened?
walls came down. Old walls were exposed. Floors came up.
Ceilings.
Ceilings moved. Actually,
How do you
ceiling.
move a ceiling?
Pardon?
How do you move a ceiling?
Well, you.
Carefully?
Well, here's a great picture right there. You see the ceiling
Right.
cuts Jesus' head off. We did not see, we hadn't seen Jesus' head
Is that theological?
in that.
Well,
In
that room was called Jesus' feet room because that's basically all we can see.
Well, when did we lose Jesus?
We don't know exactly, but I'm guessing when those high energy bills came in.
Okay, the decision was to
this is-
lower the
and
ceilings.
I was still expecting a bones of a preacher up there who said, "You're going to cover this over my dead body." But no bones up there yet.
And this is
But-
what it looks
And
like
this is now what it
afterwards?
looks
Oh,
like.
that's
That is
beautiful.
a original 1908 20-foot ceiling
Nice.
that we exposed.
With
and
Jesus
discovered.
fully visible.
With Jesus fully visible, and and all of the, and that's a 1908 hardwood floor under there as well. That is,
Looks like it's had some refinishing.
we did refinish it, but it is gloriously
beautiful thing.
Repaired
sturdy.
and refinished.
Yeah, gloriously sturdy.
Was that one of the more interesting discoveries of the
Well,
project?
We knew it was there. We didn't know how hard or easy it would be to get there, but that one didn't turn out to be as difficult as we thought, but we did find a lot of damage that we didn't know existed up there that took some additional work to repair and to make it back into the original ceiling height and everything. Our real discoveries came in electrical.
Oh dear, did that come out of the
Old
building?
knob,
That came out of that. Yeah.
Wait,
Old
does
knob
that say
and tube.
Edison on the?
That is the way they used to turn the lights on
Oh my goodness.
in there. Just like
and that
nice.
was also the breaker box, or what we would
Nice.
call
and the
breaker.
breaker
That-
box,
the fuse,
knob and tube wiring.
knob and tube wiring.
We weren't using it at the
Oh,
time.
good.
They had this, but we found all this back in the walls that we
It really was
exposed.
a history lesson
Oh,
in
it
terms of the history of construction.
Well, it was
and-
almost an archaeological dig, if you want to know the truth. I mean, we were finding things that, I mean, square cut nails that were being
really?
pulled out of
Oh, my
the building. 8x8 timbers, 34, 38 feet long.
That's
Cedars of
huge.
Lebanon.
See,
Yeah.
that's really.
Longleaf pine, actually, but I have a piece of one of them that we had. This is just a 2x6 that we found, but there are 70 growth rings in just this piece of wood. So,
Which tells me-
however big the tree was from
Pretty huge.
what this was cut out of, this was well over a 200, possibly a 300-year-old tree that this came out of. It was real old growth timber.
Yeah.
I'd heard stories ever since I'd been there about a set of hanging doors in the back of the sanctuary that some of the older members had gotten in trouble as kids because they'd be swinging on them and banging them shut. And we pulled up the floor, and sure enough, there were the tracks for these big swinging doors that they'd been talking about.
Pocket doors,
Pocket doors.
that slid
Okay.
into, actually in between these 8x8
timbers, yeah.
So they were, that's the way it was made, so that they could go in and hide in there. But those were, I guess, 20-foot tall doors that covered up.
That's a big door.
Oh, big,
Yes,
big size.
and the tracks, like, almost 3 inches wide, so the doors were almost 3 inches. I mean, it was a big.
No wonder they got in trouble for playing in
Yeah,
it.
they did. We found that in one part where it used to be the pulpit was on the front of the church, the Fountain
outside
Avenue
wall?
side, and we were uncovering the anterooms, the tower entry rooms, and here is this beautiful old poplar door that nobody really expected to find. It was evidently, it was a way that the preacher could get in and out of the pulpit area and go right out the front door. So I'm thinking that's his escape hatch.
Nice.
You know, on the days they preached tithing, they knew how to bail out quickly on this. But nobody was expecting to see this door. And here it shows up. And so we've reclaimed it, and it's now in the full view of everybody as we come in.
So you can escape?
Oh,
now?
yeah, well, you can't, when they put an organ in, they turned the entire sanctuary around.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
faced it another direction. They didn't want the organ on an outside wall.
Sure.
So it turned it all around. So now the back rows can get a quick exit if
There you
it
go.
worked. But so
If you talk about tithing.
if we talk about that.
We found, people were asking, do we have a hardwood floor under the carpet? Because people
Hope for that.
were hoping for that. Well, we discovered when they turned the sanctuary around that originally the sanctuary sloped toward the pulpit area of the original church, but when they turned it around, they sloped it the other way.
Second
So
hardwood
Built it
floor.
we
right over
had
the
two
top of
hardwood
that
floors,
one.
one on top of another at angles,
goodness.
and it was.
So which did you keep? Did you keep the?
We didn't keep either. And we
Okay.
put our acoustical engineer said, we can't do this, and you all survive in here with the sound bouncing the way it would have been. So we had to put the carpet back on it and cover that up. But it was
an amazing, really archaeological dig into the history of the church in so many ways.
one of my little interesting things is that in the front of the original front of the church, everybody was talking about, well, can we uncover the rose window? And this window was covered partially by the balcony when the balcony was put in. And everybody wanted as much of the rose window. Well, I wasn't up there one day just to look. And I stood there for 45 minutes trying to find the rose in this rose window. And there were fleur-de-lis and there were different things in it, and I just could never find the rose. Well, I finally just had to ask. I said, why is it called a rose? They said, because it's round, and that was the rose window. I didn't know that
Never
a
found the
round
flower.
stained glass window was a rose window, but it was...
Because roses are round?
Well, rose buds are that kind of little round.
So
you know,
was it completely able
But
to be?
there's it doesn't look like a rose. It's just a round window.
So were you able to save it?
Oh yeah, we can see more of it now than we could. We didn't
See
tear
as much
the
of it as
balcony.
it's possible to see, that's for sure. And in the late afternoon, the sun brings that window aflame in the most glorious ways. It
really
is
does.
really beautifully colored.
But then all of our windows are
They are.
magnificent when the sun's shining through them. I mean, they're just amazing.
Yeah.
I got to have a preview the other day, and I must say it's so light-filled, and it's very simple, and it's very peaceful, and the way the windows are that you get the morning light, the afternoon light, and the evening light, and so no matter what time of the day it is, one of those windows is just lit up and glowing, and I think Fountain Avenue, that's one of their real specialties, is the quality and the exquisite beauty of their windows. I think you've done a wonderful job. You guys, what has been the response from the congregation? Are they okay with
Everybody
it?
has embraced it so much. In large measure, we really simply restored the 1908 building and took off some of the other, all the other things that had sort of been added. And it's amazing how beautiful, practical, functional a 1908 building is.
We had congregational members that decided early they were not going to look at it until it was completed. We gave tours about every other Sunday up as it was going on, when we didn't have to have hard hats on. And we had a lot of comments, but the most heard comment by me was, "Oh, wow." And I think that was as good as it gets as far as I was concerned.
And how long did the renovation take from start to from the actual beginning of the work to the end?
That was 105 days.
15 weeks.
That's pretty good.
It's amazing, really. It was an amazing exercise, and we had imagined it for 4 months, and we were just hoping to get it in 4 months, and really, for all practical purposes, the work was done in 3 months, and then we spent a couple of weeks cleaning up and putting all the ends together. We had some wonderfully cooperative craftsmen and artisans and workers. And laborers. We had a great team.
Do you sense a new spirit in your congregation now that this has taken place?
I know there's a new spirit in the congregation because there's a new spirit in me. I entered it with some fear and trembling, sort of having heard from my preacher buddies about what renovations can.
You don't want to do that.
And it was the most amazing, regenerative kind of thing. The success of it. One of my parishioners looked at it and said, "This building's cooperating with you. It likes what you're doing to it," and it had a sense of that.
Not all building projects go like that.
No.
Not all of them go like that. I mean, every time we faced something that was less damaged than we thought it would be. It
That's
was
good.
better shape. It loved what was happening to it, and it was just this amazing sense. And there was this wonderful teamwork. It just sort of spontaneously arose that we every Friday would feed all the workers that had worked with us that week, and so there was this camaraderie that grew up, a real community among the little time that we shared together. So it has inspired me, really. I have not been more energized, and so I know it's going to affect the congregation. I know.
And your community,
And
because
the
your
whole
community is
community.
going through a regeneration and a
really
new
is.
spirit. And in the little bit of time that we have left, Gregory, talk to us about some of the ministries that Fountain Avenue is involved in with the community and how that all comes together.
Well, I'd love to, because it's got such a great vision about neighborhood ministry, particularly. It has for more than 10 years now sponsored a neighborhood fair every year in the spring,
Yeah.
and it is looked forward to by everybody in the area. It's a wonderful neighborhood, full of children, full of families, full of new couples coming in with the renovations, and it is, they welcome and look forward to this fair every May. In fact, so the city's cooperated with us beautifully. They've been partners even in this renovation in great ways. The fair is one of the important ministries. We reach out to kids all across the community. Connected to that is a community breakfast that we sponsor about 8 times a year. Again, a free Saturday morning breakfast from 8 to 10, where we serve between 200 to 300 people.
Wow.
And just gather people from the neighborhood and across the communities, some of whom are hungry, many of whom are hungry for people to sit with and talk
relationships.
about, relationships, all of whom are really, and we try to make this very conscious part of it, is this notion that Jesus promises to show up wherever 2 or 3 come together, and we all make sure we don't miss Jesus in all of this. And so
You don't cut off his head as you're
we don't cut off his head. That's right. That's exactly right. And so that's a powerful ministry that's going on and has been going on for a long time, long before I got there. And I'm thrilled to take my part in it. Stephen mentioned the concert focus that we've done and turned and done it there at Fountain Avenue. And we've also done it at the Carson Center to bring different groups, musical groups there, and we're going to do that more. This renovation is going to make it possible. Another part of the renovation puts the ability to have loudspeakers and things outside off of our system, so it's going to, I think, give us the ability to turn to our neighborhood in even more ways.
It'll really be a gathering place
Yeah.
for not just Sunday mornings,
Right.
But the big circle,
bringing people together.
you know, the park right there just makes that church in exactly the right place. And of course, we can't really credit our forefathers with that, because they didn't know the circle was going to be there.
You're on the outskirts of town back then.
But I mean, but it does. It just makes the neighborhood. I mean, the fire department, the police department, the city, everybody comes together for that fair in the spring, and we always have firemen and policemen come to the community breakfast they just spread out sometimes and just sit at a table alone and with other people that aren't firemen or policemen, for conversation. It's
a great mix.
It's a lot of fun just to walk around and talk to the different people who show up, and they're grateful for it. But I think they come for more than just food. I think they come for some spiritual uplifting.
It's happening inside and outside the
Yeah,
building, sounds like.
it really is.
And it's hard to know who gets more out of it. We who serve are those that come and are served. It's really a great joy. One more ministry I want to say before I forget it, and that is Sharon Poed out of our church is heading up what they call a Midtown Alliance of Neighbors, which is for the most part a housing ministry, an insistence particularly, well, it has a broad range of things, but everything from historical preservation to low and moderate income housing to trying to help people who have lived there a long time but whose income have crumbled out from under them, have the resources to get their houses fixed up in good shape to live in. And the Midtown Alliance of Neighbors is one of my favorite ministries that's going on as a part of this.
That's important work
Turning
too,
to the
really
neighborhood.
is.
So they would contact the church to
They
get
would, yes.
involved in that.
Yes, they would. All of those we'd love to have partners in, all of
Sure.
them.
I've worked with them on a couple of projects. Just go to fix windows or porches or doors or seal up
Bathrooms or whatever.
leaks so that they're warm or they're cool, and it's a wonderful ministry. It really is. Sharon does great
She
work,
does good
and
work.
she was also a member of the building committee, which didn't hurt our
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, it was great.
Before we conclude today, Gregory, what time is church? Sunday school.
Church-
How would people get involved?
Yeah, 9 o'clock every Sunday morning. Coffee's on, and usually something to taste or get your blood sugar going a little bit. People there to visit. 9:30 we do Sunday school. 10:45 is worship, and it's that's on Sunday mornings. We always have a Wednesday night program during the school year. And that's a good time, an alternate time. We're moving towards some Sunday evening kind of things to, again, make ourselves even more available.
Any Christmas events since we're looking at that season?
We will always have the Christmas Eve service on 11 o'clock on Christmas Eve. We'll have a cantata. The church has been known, besides its windows, for its good, strong, hearty music. And we'll have a cantata. I think we're hosting the Community Sing-Along Messiah this year, the weekend before Christmas, that Saturday night. So we're excited about that.
We have Canterbury.
We've got the Canner group that meets there, community group of singers that meets there, and they'll be. So almost every Sunday during the month of December, we'll have special Christmas activities.
So you have built it, and now they're going to come.
Well, I'm going to add one more thing. The Methodist men took on to remodel and renovate our nursery area. That's been accomplished. So
Awesome. You guys have got so much great things going on down there, and I really hope that you all will get down to Fountain Avenue, see what's going on at Fountain Avenue Church, see what's going on in the neighborhood. I'm Heidi Sir Heinrich, Scott Dossett. We thank Gregory, we thank you, Stephen, for being with us today, and come back and see us again on Reflections next time. Thank you.